Alright. I guess I'm gonna try to do this. I have adult ADD. Oh yeah. Oh, so you're talking and you see a squirrel? Yeah, whatever. No, that's not even close to what the fuck this shit is. To be honest with you. So imagine trying to have a relationship with anybody and hold down a job and have a car and have hobbies and interests and other things going on and have no idea how to balance it, to the point that you almost lose your relationships, you almost lose your job, and your hobbies are very hard to maintain. It's a depressing state to be in, really. And most people think of ADD as just, oh, they just can't pay attention. No, it's a lot of other things too. Can't pay attention. Impulse. So if I think that something's going to be good for me, I don't even think about anybody else, and I just go ahead and do whatever I need to do to get me whatever that is. And that's where I struggle with a lot of things in jobs and in relationships. And I'm not just talking about like romantic relationships. I'm talking about all relationships, friends, family, all that. It's very hard for me to maintain. I have very few friends, which that's more of a personality thing. I think anyway. I can only keep up with so many people, and the fact that my two best friends are brothers probably says a lot about that. I have a hard time going. Like most people, I got a split family. So going to one Christmas, going to another Christmas, going to all these different things and dealing with all these different people is a lot for me. I used to think, oh no, I just don't want to go because I don't want to go. No, it's not that. It's because my brain doesn't work the way that it should. So me trying to come off of one group of people and go to another, I have to set and adjust, and everybody sets their times either at the same time or the same day. I got to go 2 hours away one way. Well, that's now anyway. Now I got to go 2 hours away one way, so I kind of got to choose, which is better for me, to be honest with you, because now I get to choose which one I'm going to. So I'm just going to start switching off, really. But I don't know. I've always struggled with it. I always got drugged to, on Christmas whenever I was little, I got drugged to. So we started out at my grandma phase, and we'd all play around like little shitheads. See, and that's what happened. That's what happened with ADD. So I would find my cousins and we would play, and then we would play from there, and then we would go to my Mimi and Pepa's house and we'd play up there. And I never introduced when I was little, but Tyler wasn't like part of the family on the other side, and I didn't understand that. But me and Dalton would still play, and then the next day we would go to my Granny and Papa's in the morning. But that was after Christmas. It was always on Christmas Day. So we would wake up, open our presents, and then we had to go somewhere. And it was just, it's great. It's great to have a close family. And I'm lucky in that sense because there's not a lot of close families anymore. But it's really hard for me to maintain it. And I don't think I've been to a Christmas in several years. Just because I got so much going on. And I think it was last Christmas, I worked every day, and the only reason I got Christmas off was because it was on a Saturday. So I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna stay here, stay home. ADD is really, it's not the good, fun, your friend's retarded thing. Yeah, we say some off-the-wall stuff because we live in our head all the time. And I know that's been a current resurgence of people asking, hey, where do you live in your body? We live in our head. 1,000 billion million% of the time, we're happy, sad, whatever, we're in our head. There's voices in my head. They're my voice, obviously, but they constantly bicker and argue about every next thing I should do. It gets a little loud in there. I have no idea what's going on most of the time. So if I'm sitting there and I look like I'm spaced out, I'm not spaced out to the point that there's nothing going on. There's probably so much going on in my head that I couldn't even do anything. Like, if I was by myself in a comfortable environment, you would probably hear me talking to myself. You're not crazy if you talk to yourself. Sometimes you need an expert opinion. But I will say, ADD is not the whole move shiny squirrel thing. People say it is. It seems like it is, but that's not typically the thing that catches our attention, especially whenever we're medicated and grown, is if I had a thought about something. Let's say I was thinking about lug nut colors. And because I'm thinking about lug nut colors, my mind is targeting for lug nut colors. So every time I walk by a car that has colored lug nuts, I'm going to go back to that thought of thinking about lug nut colors. I can't help it. It just is what it is. So just because we're having a conversation about dogs or fish or whatever the fuck over here, and if I see colored lug nuts, instantly, bam, colored lug nuts. I promise you, it makes sense in my head. It probably don't make, but it definitely doesn't make sense to anybody around you because they wasn't in on that conversation. It was just you and your other half of your brain. By the way, if you want to do any research on the halves of the brain, there's a science study where they separated halves of the brain, and so your right eye tells your left eye information, tells your left side of your brain information, your left eye tells your right side of your brain information, or something like that. But they done a study where there was a chicken and a rake on one side, and they have nothing to do with each other. And the funny thing is the eyes created they separated the hemisphere of the brain, and the eyes created new pathways to the side of the brain that each side was on. But since there was no information able to pass between, they found out that you have two personalities in your body at all times. You have an inner personality and an outer personality. One of them is you, and the other one is a silent passenger that just gives you information. That's what they found out. And you can look up this study. I don't know what it's called, but so the more I learn about the human body, the more I learn about the brain, and the more I learn about things that I do, mainly because I have a wife that tells me now everything I do, so I'm more aware of it. It's you should, if you have this, you should really take it into account that you are affecting everybody around you. You can affect people in good ways and bad ways. I do a little bit of both. There's days where I'm so impatient because all I can think about is myself and what I'm going through, because that's what I see, because I live in my own head, and I've got a voice up there telling me that everything's going bad and everything's happening. But then whenever things are going good, everything's great. So I don't really, it's hard to balance. A lot of control, lots of control. Owning a fast car, driving the speed limit. Knowing when to shut up whenever you think you're right on everything. The reason you think you're right is because both sides of your brain has agreed that something is right, and you think that's a conversation that you've had, but in fact it's not a conversation you've had outside your head ever. Of course you think you're right. It was your opinion. That's where that runs into. There's a lot of, being a person of higher intelligence, it's unfortunately that has coaxed me into being somewhat of a sociopathic individual, in which I have been proven right a lot, to the point that I always think I'm right, and I don't think about anybody else's feelings or let them go through their own journey. And that's fine if you're willing to protect somebody, because you're like, oh, don't do that, that's going to end bad. But it's not just that. It's typically just a want to be right all the time. And that's kind of toxic. I have no idea what to do with this shit. Okay. And so ADD people cannot split focus. And you're like, oh yeah, focus is your problem. You can't focus on. No, man, I can focus on shit. I can hyper focus on stuff, which is equally dangerous. So I can hyper focus. I can be the best employee that ever lived. I can talk to people the deepest conversations and understand everything they're going through and give it right back to them and just feel like the best friend you've ever had. But I can only do that in one spot. And it's taxing on me mentally to go that deep. So I can maintain good friend relationships, or there's no ands here, or I can be a good coworker, or I can be a good partner. And that's literally all. I have to balance all these ors. And right now I'm trying to choose a good partner. You can't just change your fucking mind on shit. I gotta constantly remind myself to be better. That medication doesn't do it all. It just takes the impulses away. That is all that medication does, is takes the impulses away and allows you to hyper-focus more readily. But the dangerous thing about hyper-focus is, let's say I'm at work and I'm doing one job and then another job comes in and it needs done quicker. It physically hurts my brain and my body to go from hyper-focusing on one thing to just being shaken out of that and having to hyper-focus on something else. I have to take a second. I can't do it. And that's the way, and that right there, I think, is the way that I always thought, or not always thought, I recently have thought that I might be autistic, because it does hurt. But that's too low of a side effect. I think. I've not got checked out. Me and my doctor agree that we should only check one box right now, because it's just, I mean, he said how many holes you want to fit in, basically. How many holes you want that peg to fit in. He said you could probably make it fit if you pushed it. Yeah, well, is it going to do me any good in the long run? No. So, does it matter? No. Trying to understand yourself as an adult, and that really comes about being 30 years old, is just, it's been a journey. I have no idea who I am. But at the same sense, I do know what I like, and I know what I don't like. But I've never seen myself from an outside perspective the way that I've seen myself nowadays. And it's making me want to be a better person. So I'm trying to be better starting this year, because this is the only year I've ever seen that I'm kind of the way that I am. And I think my mom has always known that I am the way that I am. And I think lots of people have probably known that I am the way that I am. And I don't mean to rub anybody wrong. Because obviously I didn't know I was doing this. I didn't know that I was being the way that I am. for the longest time, I just thought, oh yeah, they like me if they like me. If they don't, they don't. Whatever. It's their issue, not mine. Which is a lot of the way the world is today. But that's kind of a very toxic way to be. Your way, the highway, is. That's why we got gender issues and shit. People just keep shoving shit down people's throats. Well, you're gonna like me or you're not gonna like me. Fuck you. Well, for people that have to like you, like your wife or husband or whatever, it's hard. It's hard on them. And whenever you're not always the person that's likable, and then all of a sudden you want something from somebody, and they don't want to give it because you're not a likable person. So you want attention, you want affection, you want love, you want whatever. You're not going to get it because you're an absolute asshole. And I struggled with that for a long time because I thought, well, I don't understand. I do all this stuff for you, but that's not enough. You need to be emotionally available. It's very hard to be emotionally available whenever you are trying to balance everything else in life. And it all comes with age. Paying your house payment and maintaining your car and being a good enough employee that you don't get fired every day. All that comes with age. But you still have the impulses where you're just like, I don't want to do shit today. And maybe you won't do shit today. I don't know. You got to make that choice for yourself. And I always thought, maybe it'll get better, maybe it'll get better. Well, nothing gets better without input. You have to physically and mentally try to be better to get better. Stuff doesn't just magically happen. But I don't know how many people know that I'm struggling with this, what would you call it, disorder? It is a disorder, attention deficit disorder, right? There was a whole brain conversation right there. We are quick. Some of us are really quick. I don't want to say I'm the quickest. In fact, I think I'm slow in more ways than one, but yeah, that's communicate with your own brain on another level. It's just almost like there's not even words there. These pathways are formed while we're very young. I highly believe that. Attention deficit disorder is a underdeveloped frontal lobe. So anytime you try to throw emotion into anything, it's going to be 110% of whatever you're going to feel. So if one little thing goes wrong in your life, you're going to think the world is crashing down. If one little thing goes good, or you have a good day and everything, you're going to feel great. Everything's going to be great for you for a little while until something bad happens. So you're going to assume that everybody's fine. Just because you're fine doesn't mean everybody's fine. That's one thing that I had to learn. It's a constant struggle. But if I offend anybody, it's not that I mean to, and I'm not making excuses either. I'm trying to just be better. But I want people to understand what I go through. Not that it's any worse than anybody else goes through stuff every day, because everybody goes through shit. But I don't know. It's just want to talk about what I've learned lately, because we don't do that anymore. We don't sit down at people's tables and they say, "What did you learn at school today?" No. Oh, nothing. Yeah, that's BS. But I mean, that's probably true for public school, to be honest with you. Yeah, I have attention deficit disorder. Man, I've had it for a long time. Well, since I was born, probably. Never got told any different until 5th grade. And didn't get medicated for it until 9th. So, that was that. Now I am a struggling adult with ADD, which medically isn't even like accepted by a lot of places. They don't accept like a lot of more backwater places like like Oklahoma. Here lately, I've had to deal with different medication because my insurance wouldn't cover whatever, and I've been paying out of pocket for the cheapest shit that they have because the insurance won't cover it. It don't work. Not nearly as good as other stuff, but then I learned the other day, me and my doctor was having a conversation. We learned that there's a medication that is suitable for the treatment of adult ADD, apparently, because it's probably harder to make meth with. I don't know. I'm just assuming shit, to be honest with you. But, yeah, so we're going to try that one out as soon as we can get approved for it. It's not going to do anything better. I still got to do my mental stuff, my mental gymnastics. God always levels the playing field. So he has these people that have superior intellect, stupidly smart, and because we're human and because we're born in sin, we have autism or we have attention deficit disorder, so that we have to use a lot of our intellect and ability to learn on maintaining balance of life. It's as if he gave you the extra intelligence to try to learn how to cope and try to be a normal person. But that is the struggle that I go through every day. Trying not to overreact to the smallest little thing. Anytime somebody whispers around me, paranoia. Anytime somebody says something cross to me, and it took a long time to get to where I was just like, okay, whatever, I'll fix it. Say I do something wrong, and they say, hey, you did this wrong. Like, I used to just go all in my head about that and just go find a corner and just sit in it and just fester about it. Like, I didn't do shit wrong. You did shit wrong, or I'm such a fuck up. I can't help it. All I do is fuck things up. I mean, yeah. If you ever heard the song "Loser" by Swaco, that's what it's like to live with ADD. That is the voice in your head whenever shit's going wrong. It's a good song, though. I do like it. I listened to it twice before I started this thing. Yeah. I don't even know why I'm making this, but I felt like I needed to open up about things. Not that my life is so interesting, but maybe somebody would want to hear my thoughts on the way that I am.